So one of the things I think is really exciting that we can be kind of thinking about, like, as we look at the future and the shape of New Zealand and what it might look like going forward, is how the regions are kind of treated and how we think about them. So I was reflecting the other day, like, just when you step back to kind of first principles about the way our country is structured and governed, and thinking like our central government kind of operations and our local government operations, just in our own minds, from what I understand, seem so separate. They just seem like two kind of planes that never really meet in the way that we treat them as the communities involved. And when you think about it, like, all our country is a sum of our 16 regions. Like, that's all that make us up. And I don't even know if people would know that we have 16 regions, or would know the names of them, or know the value of different parts of our different regions and communities. And I think that we can really think about how to better kind of embed the way we structure and organise ourselves into our regions. Like, I know that there's some talk around how regions can kind of amalgamate and bring together councils that are multiple councils that are currently within a region. So say in Hawke's Bay, where I think there are 5 different types of councils, and there's a lot of resistance to that. And when I delved into that a little bit further, I just asked a bunch of people from Hawke's Bay, because it's my homeland and I'm interested in it, and the response tended to be, I don't have all the facts, but I tend to be against it. And I thought, oh, that's so interesting. And so I kind of probed a bit more, and I was like, oh, why is that? Why do you think that? And the responses were, oh, because big isn't always better, and because people are really concerned about things like Central Hawke's Bay and Wairoa being kind of forgotten as the bigger centres grow and get all the focus. So when I think about that, there are things that we could be doing differently when we try and tell a story about why it could be important to operate like at a regional level. Like, instead of trying to sell, the downside and say, we're going to make it cheaper and easier and more efficient. Like, I don't think anyone buys that, right? Like, it's always hard to bring together councils, and it probably would, cost more. It could cost more. But if you think about what a cohesive plan and a cohesive vision for a region could do to it, like, I just think there's such a powerful story to be told there. Like, imagine if a whole region were able to kind of identify and attract opportunities and bring them into the region, and that could be like either like domestic opportunities and turning to government and saying we can do this piece in Hawke's Bay, or it could be international opportunities and identifying large multinational corporations and saying, hey, as a region, we want to offer you this opportunity if you come and embed here, and you just have so much more kind of strength and power with a kind of a united front. And I think that that's important both for how we feel within a region, how we feel between our regions, and what that means for New Zealand kind of facing out internationally. And I was interested to have a conversation with a group of people the other day about Auckland's kind of role in the future and the region of Auckland and how that fits. And I think in general people, especially in Auckland, think of Auckland as being the international face and like the voice for the rest of New Zealand. And that's interesting, because I don't think in that process people have stopped to go and turn around and say to the other regions, hey, so what do you want us to say? We're going to be your voice. What would you like us to speak to on your behalf? And I think that's really important for Auckland, which I adore and believe can do great things on the international stage. I think it's really important that it turns around and in like a humble way says like we feel like we have a responsibility and a kind of a right by being the largest city, but what should we do? What should we all agree is the vision long term that Auckland should be selling on behalf of the country, not in isolation and stuff. And I'd really like to see how that could play out and how we could have better communications between different regions and a better understanding of the value that different regions bring to make up our country. A lot of the people I work with are people that, like in Auckland, but they didn't grow up in Auckland, and so they have a lot of background in the regions, and they really understand the value of all the other kind of more rural areas. And so when you're in meetings and having discussions like that, sitting on everyone's shoulder, right? Like, we've got experience. I know what it's like to dairy farm or to go out and to pick up rubbish in trucks along all the different beach communities, and also like I've done that growing up. But now I think there's a lot more generations, a lot more people that are growing in cities that don't understand the value of regions in the same way, simply because they haven't had that experience. I think there's quite a danger in that because a lot of the values are kind of subtle, and a lot of the regions aren't out there like proactively marketing, go, hey, come to Hawke's Bay for this, come to Northland, like for these kind of reasons. And there might be like international marketing, but I think in terms of domestic facing, getting people to understand, what the really special, unique properties are that each of the region brings.